Hello and welcome to Expert Advice. This is Mansi Dave, and we are here with another exciting segment where our experts will share their views on a leading trend in the real estate sector. Today we have with us Mr. Srinivasan Arun. Mr. Srinivasan Arun is a CA and leading management consultant based in Dubai. He has been in Dubai since last 20 years and has worked with Big Four consulting firms and various MNCs. At present, he runs Venture Consulting, which is a firm which specializes in corporate finance and real estate backed transaction. Hello, Mr. Srinivasan Arun. How are you?
Good.
Another guest which we have is Mr. Paresh Karia. Mr. Paresh Karia has always been with us in various expert advice to give his expert views. He is a director of Easy2ownEstate, a firm which specializes in real estate investment advisory to HNI and NRIs. So how are you?
Very well.
It's a pleasure having you here on our show. Mr. Srinivasan, is it safe to invest in Dubai?
Safety is a perception. It is over the last 40 years, the businessmen who have sort of trusted Dubai and sort of have grown since then. Out of the top 40 billionaires, 50 billionaires in the Forbes list, about 1/3 are from Dubai, who evolved from Dubai. So it is a perception, but again, the history proves that investment has been safe. So nobody can sort of say with certainty, but definitely there's nothing untoward against it.
Okay. So what are the appreciation prospects in the Dubai real estate?
I would say that the initial appreciation, you can't expect the same appreciation what you saw in the last 8-10 years. It will be in the region in line with the global markets, about anywhere between 7 to 10% in the capital appreciation. But the attractive part is the yield. The rental yield is in the region of 7 to 10% tax-free. That is what is unprecedented with any other markets, and there's no taxes over there, and the ease of transaction.
Okay, Mr. Srinivasan, what are the key developments driving Dubai real estate market?
It is mainly the investment flow coming from the global markets, the uncertainty in the region, and also the Dubai's aspiration to be the destination. It has got one of the biggest airline, the Emirates airline. Dubai port is the biggest port in the world. 50% of Indian ports are managed by Dubai. So it's the development in Dubai.
The development in Dubai, basically, right?
Indeed.
Okay.
Also, the upcoming Expo 2020. Would you like to say something on that?
Dubai has been awarded to host the Expo in 2020, which will be seeing some 20 million visitors. Currently, already Dubai has got over 12 million visitors. Dubai airport is the busiest airport in the world. It has overtaken Heathrow. So with all these trends happening, they already has got 1,000 5-star hotels. They're going to build another 800 hotels for this expo. So all this is going to further the economic activity. And to build all this is also going to see construction, infrastructure, and there's a whole lot of new development going to happen in the next 4 to 5 years.
Okay. Mr. Paresh Karia, is there a concept of carpet area versus super built up area in Dubai?
Let me tell you that, this concept of super built up and carpet area is unique only to the Indian market. If you see globally, things are sold only on the carpet area basis. Same is the case in Dubai. There you go over there, you want to buy a property, you are told what exactly is the size of the property, this is the carpet area, and this is the total cost. There is no, concept of super built-up area or built-up area in the Dubai market.
Mr. Srinivasan, can you throw light on that?
Not only that, in Indian developers, in order to make the rates attractive for the customers, they started do a lot of add-ons. You need to pay a lot of add-ons like the connections, clubhouse, everything.
Exactly.
So this is very unique to India. In order to, it's like the Bata pricing. You say 9.95, but it's 10. So it's a similar concept of psychological pricing. But as far as global markets are concerned, it's an all-in price, which is the carpet area, including all of the facilities together.
All right. Yeah. Mr. Paresh, the most important question: how can resident Indians invest in Dubai?
Well, there are two ways in which resident Indians can invest in Dubai. First is if it is a businessman. If there is a businessman, he is engaged in global business, or he's engaged in import-export business, he can have an entity based out of Dubai. And if it is a business entity which is based out of Dubai, that entity can buy a property in Dubai. Because that will any which way be required. If you have a business, you need a property for office or your own stay. So that is one way by which you can buy property in Dubai. The second thing is, like we discussed earlier, RBI has now liberalized remittance of money outside India. every Indian can remit up to 250,000 US dollars per annum outside India, and this money can be used for various purposes, including investment in property. So suppose if there are 4 members in the family, then up to 100,000 US dollars they can remit outside India per annum. And this amount is sufficient enough to pay the initial amount for the property out in Dubai. And if you buy a property which is under construction, you can pay over a period of time, which means that every year you can remit this kind of money and pay it over the next 2-3 years. So these are some of the ways in which Indians resident in India can acquire property in Dubai.
So what do you advise? What kind of property should they invest in?
Well, there are a lot of options available in Dubai, right from studio apartments to compact 1 and 2 BHK apartments. Then you have lavish and spacious 3 and 4 BHK apartments. Villas is another segment which is quite popular in Dubai. You have very good, very spacious large villas, and that is which are very, very popular with the business tycoons and celebrities. You also have number of golf course properties, prominent among them being Emma Hills, where you can buy golf course properties at very attractive prices. So apart from residential property, one can also invest in commercial property in Dubai, where rental yields are also very attractive.
Mr. Srinivasan, that makes a question that is it advisable to purchase a retail or office space in Dubai?
Certainly, office space is one of the most attractive options. The reason globally, commercial space always command a price higher than the residential space, mainly because of the commercial utilization, better return on investment. But in Dubai, the anomaly currently for the last few years has been the commercial space has been trailing below the residential price. So that anomaly will be evened out in the due course, and that's an opportunity. The yield is quite high. The people who buy commercial property, the return on the rental return is high, and also upside potential is quite high.
All right. So if at all one purchases a property, an office space, what kind of rent can one expect from that?
Currently, the rental yields are going anywhere between 7 to 10%. That's a very attractive tax-free yield on the commercial property. But only thing to be careful, commercial property comes shell and core. You need to do the fit-outs, and only then you can get a loan on that. So it requires people with a certain amount of risk appetite who can invest without borrowing money and who has got that level of liquid cash to put in. So, but it's a very attractive investment.
So there is a certain amount of risk appetite, but still it's advisable, right?
It definitely gets a far better return than the residential property, number one. Number two, every business which is there needs to have an office. Every visa which is given for a worker is a function of the office space. Generally, the yardstick is for every 100 square foot to get a visa. If somebody's got a trading business, need 20 visas, so he needs 2,000 square foot property. So as a result, and people rent it. So there's always a demand in that.
So on this interesting note, we cut for a short break, but you don't go anywhere. We will be back in a while. Mr. Srinivasan, if I purchase a residential property in Dubai and I wish to rent it, what rent can I expect?
Normally, the rental yields going are, depending on the locality and depending on the property what you're buying, anywhere between 7 to 10%. So that is the rental yield.
Welcome back after the break. Let's continue with the conversation. Mr. Srinivasan, if I purchase a residential property in Dubai and I wish to rent it, what rent can I expect?
Normally, the rental yields going are, depending on the locality and depending on the property what you're buying, anywhere between 7 to 10%. So that is the rental yield. And these are there are a lot of real estate agents, there are a lot of websites, and it's much easier to sort of go and assess what are the properties in demand. Normally, the smaller units get a better yield. Like we buy a single bedroom or a studio, the yield is far better.
Okay.
And if you compare this, with Mumbai, the kind of rental yield that we get on a residential property over here is just about 2 or 3%.
Okay.
And that is taxable, and this is tax-free. It's a different thing that if you're a resident Indian, you have to pay taxes, but there's no taxes in Dubai.
So what are the current property rates in Dubai, and what is the fluctuation pattern over there?
The property rates for the last 5 years, since 2008, after the last correction, has been steadily going up, quarter on quarter. The rates are somewhere in a place like Marina or Jumeirah Lake Towers, it's around 12 to 1400 dirhams a square foot. In places like Business Bay and others, it's about anywhere between 1200, and you go to places like Silicon Oasis and some other pockets, like you can even get it under 1000 dirhams a square foot. The rate is 1:17 within rupee and dirhams.
So, Mr. Paresh, what are the major developers in Dubai?
Dubai, we have very well-known developers. We have MR, which is one of the leading developers in Dubai. We have Nakil, we have Damac, we have Dubai Land. These are some of the popular developers in Dubai. They were dominating the market. Apart from that, we also have some Indian developers who have recently entered the Dubai market. Notable them is Shubha Developers, which is developing a huge gated community project in Dubai.
Indian developers are also there in the Dubai market.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Srinivasan, over to you. What are the taxes, duties, maintenance and other charges which are there in Dubai real estate market?
There are no taxes or duties. There is a transfer fee of 2%, 4%. It was 2% earlier, now it's 4% when you buy and sell property. But there is a maintenance charge which is comes to about 5 to 10% of the rental yield what you get, you have to pay as a maintenance, and this includes the maintenance, because these are all mostly high-rise buildings with a very high maintenance standards, including high-speed lifts and chilled water air conditioning throughout the entire building. So given the infrastructure cost, the maintenance cost is relatively high as compared to Mumbai, other cities, but that is the actual cost incurred, and these are actual reimbursement. There's no markup. There's an association formed, and the actual cost, just like the way the Mumbai societies are, those are reimbursed by maintained by the residents.
Mr. Paresh, how is it advisable? I mean, how and from whom to buy a property in Dubai? From a builder or a broker?
Well, there are various options available. There are a lot of, like we mentioned, there are leading developers and they keep on launching new projects. So if you want to buy a new property, you can directly buy from the developers. If you want to buy a ready property, it could be available either from the developer, you can buy from the secondary market. Like we said, there are quite a few people who had invested in the property and they are looking at exit. So you will have to hunt in the market and look at good opportunities in the resale market also.
The attractive part of Dubai, the people who were wanting to invest about a decade ago, they didn't have a choice but to buy from a developer off-plan properties. Now there are several properties which are ready. You can look, feel, experience and then buy, which will take away a big part of your risk to do with the developers. Because in the last recession, there are quite a lot of developers who went under and never completed the projects. So in order to mitigate that risk, you have a very wide range of choice of properties which are ready properties available, which you can have a look and then buy. So people who are conservative, who want to actually sort of have the right to mitigate the risk, is better to buy a ready property. First thing is you start getting the rental yield right from day one, and second is most developed properties are not highly discounted anyways. So as a result, it is as well you could buy a property which is sort of readily available.
Okay.
Also, you can keep in mind, the fact is that the real estate broking industry also is quite regulated in Dubai. You need to be a registered broker over there. You need to be a licensed broker. You need to give a test and get yourself accredited. Only after that you can start selling property over there. So you have very well informed brokers over there who will help you in buying a property.
Okay, so we can say that privacy and security at its best.
Absolutely. And there is transparency also.
There is a major highlight which says that Indians are nowadays buying properties online. That's a trend. So what is your general say on it?
Online is a very good medium for you to make a good choice, because with the current search engine optimizations and everything what's available, you want a certain specification, you get best of the choices available and you can take an informed decision. But the actual transaction, look, feel, experience, you still need to go and have a look and feel of it, because online you can get a good range of choice, you can zero down the options, but there's nothing, especially properties are high ticket value, so there's nothing like going, seeing it, looking at references, live references as opposed to online references, and then taking an informed decision.
Yeah, and also like in India, we have many online portals available in Dubai which have got properties listed and provide a lot of information about various properties. So what you can do is essentially use this information to shortlist the properties that you would like to buy and then actually go and visit over there and see the property for yourself.
So on this interesting note, we cut for a short break, but you don't go anywhere. We will be back in a while. I would like you to give some advice to our viewers as in what they should do to purchase a real estate property in Dubai.
Putting all these factors together, first make up your mind, decide, and I would advise to look for properties that are readily available. You can go there, talk to the tenant, look and see and experience the real property, and then take a decision.
Welcome back after the break. Let's continue with the conversation. Sir, I would like you to give some advice to our viewers as in what they should do to purchase a real estate property in Dubai.
The first thing I would advise is first get familiar with the landscape. Just do a bit of research on the internet, understand it, visit there once, because visiting Dubai is as like visiting Delhi, like the cost is very, very low and the visa is easily available. Visit there, experience, see, look, feel. But once you decide the areas and your budget, then whether it's business, commercial or residential. Commercial, definitely, as I told you, it has got a much higher upside potential and also a very good rental yield. So putting all these factors together, first make up your mind, decide, and I would advise to look for properties that are readily available. You can go there, talk to the tenant, look and see and experience the real property, and then take a decision, which is not an option a few years ago, because now there are a lot of ready property available on the market. So I think my strong advice is for people to at least shortlist, go look, feel, and preferably buy a ready property.
Okay, Mr. Paresh Karia, we also want a piece of advice from you.
So I think what Srinivasan said is, of course, you have to do your study, do your homework over here. Understand, first of all, understand your need, why you are buying a property over there. Is it going to be an investment? Is it going to be a second home? Or is it going to be used for your business? And accordingly, you can, if it is pure investment, then you can consider whether you want to buy a residential property or a commercial property. Like Srinivasan said, at this point of time, it makes more sense to buy a commercial property because of the arbitrage opportunity available. And if you're going to use it as a, residential home, your second home, then it is better to buy a residential property and, identify opportunities where you will get discounted. Like we have various developers in Dubai. There are some developers like MR, Damac, Nakil, etc., which are prominent developers, and these are well-known brands, but their properties are sold at a premium. You also have other local developers in Dubai which may not be as that well known, but their properties are available at a far more reasonable price. So go over there, do the study, and then take a decision.
So what are the financing options in the Dubai real estate market?
Currently, all the major banks, right from HSBC, Barclays, and the local banks and everybody else finance the real estate property. Ideally, if your property is from a good developer like EMAR and others, you immediately get an approval up to 70% of the property value. The maximum stipulated by the law is 70% of the value, because they expect the owners to contribute a certain portion of it. Earlier, before the crash, they were giving up to 90-95%, which they stopped now, which is healthy for the market. In order to take a loan, first is you need to put a loan application first is you need to acquire the property and then put the loan application with your source of income and your other relationships. And it's a fairly straightforward process of financing the property. If it's a commercial property, normally the commercial property come as shell and core. You need to develop the property, you need to sort of do the fit outs and rent it out before you put it on a loan. Because just in a shell and core property, you can't attract a loan because it's not income generating. So the logic of the banks is that it has to be an income generating. Residential property is income generating immediately, so they finance it. And the shell and core, you need to do a little bit of work and put it together before you get a loan. If it is a business, then it is much easier to put the whole thing together, because the business has got its own credentials, the balance sheet and everything else. So it's much easier to put the loan proposals together. Even the Indian banks like Bank of Baroda is processing property loans. Even some of the offshore banks are also started processing loans from India. So if you have a relationship with Bank of Baroda, for example, in India, it's much easier to get a loan in Dubai for the property.
So Mr. Srinivasan, apart from these financing options, are there any other challenges which one has to take care of while investing in Dubai?
Yeah, the one thing which I can straight away say, which all the expats, particularly Indians, look after is the ownership structure of the property. There are two options. Either you can own the property in an individual name or in the name of an offshore company. Owning in the individual name is governed by the Sharia law. In case the person passes away, the succession of that is determined by a different course of action, which is not very familiar in India. And second is also to make sure that you need to have your will properly structured and registered in the Dubai court. It's more advisable to have it in an offshore company structure, so that in case you want to sell a property, you sell the shares of the company to somebody else and you avoid the stamp duties and others. So you need to have a very careful assessment as to what is the structure of ownership you want to look at, because that is something which is not an English law or an Indian law. So you need to be really careful about the ownership structure.
Okay, Mr. Paresh, all in all, Dubai is considered to be very attractive. So what is the growth potential, we can say?
Growth potential over there, as we know, there is a lot of action in Dubai. There are a lot of things which are happening. Dubai is, very strategically located. There are a lot of businesses, a lot of tourists coming up over there, and a lot of things are getting developed. There is a Bollywood theme park which is coming up over there, and we already have, the Ferrari park over there at Abu Dhabi, which is not very far from Dubai. So the government of Dubai is doing a lot of things to develop the cities and to bring in more and more tourists as well as more and more businessmen. So despite what is happening around Dubai, we are seeing a lot of disturbances in the neighboring areas. We are seeing a slowdown in Europe as well as US, but Dubai continues to grow, and I think the future prospects are quite bright.
Okay. So this was Mr. Paresh Karia and Mr. Srinivasan Arun with us in the Bombay studio discussing Indians investing in Dubai. If planned right, investing across borders really makes sense with respect to diversification and risk-return trade-offs. With RBI increasing its limits, one can explore real good opportunities overseas. So what are you waiting for? If you wish to invest in Dubai, get set and go. But before you do that, don't forget to keep writing to us. Your feedbacks are of utmost importance. You can also call us on the numbers being flashed on the screen. Keep watching Spin TV. Goodbye and take care.